Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you guys are listening to an interview being done for Under the Influence. My great pleasure to be speaking with Randy Linder, who is a great does a great John Fogerty tribute. Now, how are you doing tonight, Randy?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing good. Now, like I said, I seen on Facebook that you pay tribute to John Fogerty and CCR. Now, do you have a name for your band, or do you just go by your surname, which is Randy Linder?
That's what I go by, and so when a venue makes a poster, they put my name, and then they make a big deal about it being a tribute to Creedence. And that's because the word Creedence is what people recognize right off the bat, even if they don't put the Clearwater Revival.
Yeah.
Say tribute to Creedence, and they understand what it is.
Yeah, I think, that's why the band themselves, abbreviated CCR. It's just so much easier to say, and people immediately, like you said, know what it is. Now, I guess the best place to start this interview off is if you could share with us, how did you first get into the music of CCR?
Well, I was in the music business for a long time before I started doing the tribute thing. I started into the business of having a band and playing at gigs when I was in 8th grade in 1968.
Wow.
And it wasn't until the year 2000 that I put the tribute band together.
Okay.
And so it didn't evolve into a tribute band until tribute bands became a thing that really was, because it used to be there were just tributes to Elvis. But tributes to anybody else.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, Randy, because looking at your Facebook page, I got to tell you, you look to me, you look so dead on like John Fogerty, and you sound a lot like him. Just your talking voice and stuff. So I imagine that's played a role. I mean, how much of that did you get over years? People telling you, man, you look and sound like John Fogerty.
Well, it was in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, and when I started hearing that, and I don't recall having them saying too much about the resemblance in looks, but I know that at that time I started doing a few Fogerty songs where I was making an effort to sound like him,
Mm-hmm.
And so in the 90s, a lot of people told me that I should do a tribute because when I did the Fogerty song in my mix of classic rock,
Mm-hmm.
who I sounded the most like, and that's just something that just kind of developed naturally, for a long time. I would say all the way through the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
My voice didn't really sound like that when I sang a Creedence song.
Wow.
But in the 90s, I just somehow naturally gravitated towards developing that voice, and it wasn't something I was doing because I was ever planning on doing a tribute.
Oh yeah.
It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And then people kind of, started mentioning that.
Wow. Now, I imagine, like a lot of musicians I speak to, you must have been in a lot of bands over years and doing the original music thing. So, how different is doing the tribute scene for you to trying to have an original act?
Well, what it amounts to is that doing the tribute scene, there's places I can actually work and get paid.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the different part.
Yeah.
I've found that the effort to do original music has normally amounted to getting something done that I personally wanted to do for personal reasons, but not a whole lot of venues out there wanting to pull me up a bunch of money and put on an event around my personal
music. Yeah,
But come out as a tribute to Creedence Clearwater Revival, and lots of people want it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you make that point, because a lot of guys I talk to, they tell me, it's great being an original act and doing your own thing, but it's kind of like their experience been kind of what your experience has been, and that it might take you 6 or 7 years before you even have a chance of having your first hit single. And a lot of times people are coming to the clubs, coming to the shows to see you play, have no idea who you are, never heard any of your music before, they're just hearing it for the first time. Where when you do like a Creedence tribute, okay, you have a built-in audience. People know who John Fogerty is. People know who Creedence Clearwater Revival is. They've heard these songs how many times throughout their life on the radio. So you've got that built-in audience right now.
Yeah, and for me, now, it's not this way for all musicians, obviously, because I have a lot of friends who are really, they get all their satisfaction from what they create on their own musically. But for me, it's a little different, because where my satisfaction comes from is the entertaining part, and seeing the people first even be there in the audience, and then really enjoy themselves. So I enjoy playing and singing the music as well, because it's what brings back memories. For me, I'm 62 years old.
Wow.
Doing those songs when they were new.
Wow.
And so when I do these songs, it's bringing back memories for me as well. But and I enjoy the act of playing and singing them. But the main thing that gives me my musical satisfaction is entertaining the people,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that I'm not saddled with this mindset that would only let me be musically satisfied if I did something big with my original music. I feel perfectly musically satisfied doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great to hear you say, Randy, because kind of like what you're saying, you kind of get off on playing this music yourself. You must get this with people come to your shows where they tell you, man, you're so dead on. You're so just you remind me so much of John Fogerty that you're taking me first time I seen CCR. In concert, first time I heard one of their songs on the radio, and that's got to be a great feeling to know you're doing that.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's interesting. After the show, I have pictures of myself that people can have me sign and stuff, and I sign a lot of pictures, and people have a chance to say what they thought of the show, and it's always good, because the people that, if there's somebody that didn't like it, they're not going to be standing in front of the merch table,
Yeah.
But what's really funny though is occasionally there'll be somebody that comes up that evidently is not really hip to the whole tribute band thing, and they'll think that I am John Fogerty.
Wow.
And they'll come up to and I don't know why that ever happens, but it has happened several times. They'll come up and talk to me, and they'll start talking about how they've been listening to my music, and it's so-and-so, and then I tell them, well, you realize I'm a tribute band. My name's Randy Linder, and I do a tribute to my favorite group, and sometimes they just won't
believe it.
That still won't.
It doesn't.
So I don't stand there and talk to them about it anymore. I just sign the picture and hope they figure it out sometime. But anyway, it's just kind of funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard similar stories of things like that happening to a lot of these guys that are playing the tribute bands. And the interesting thing is, kind of like you're saying, a lot of people, they might not be aware of it. Creedence Clearwater has been, but they split up like back in 1971. And they might just be aware. Oh, John Fogerty just had a book come out. Oh, he's in the news. Oh, the band must be out there touring. They have no idea that these guys haven't played together since 1971. One of the guys has passed on. The remaining guys they apparently hate each other's guts. So a lot of people just have no idea. They're stuck in the past. They have no idea that the band's not even touring into or recording any new music.
Right, and another thing that a lot of people don't know is all of the hits that CCR had that I do in my show were created in the period of 4 years, from 1968, starting with, I think it was Susie Q might have been the
Yeah,
first,
yeah, yeah.
which was the cover tune for them. And, but from 1968 to 1972, that's when all of those wonderful hits came out in that fast of a period. I always think that's pretty interesting, and I've had a lot of people attend the concerts that, of course, weren't born at that.
Yeah.
But they come to the concert because they know that CCR did their version of "Heard It Through the Grapevine,"
Yeah.
"Fortunate Son," or whatever, and they know they like that song, so they know they want to come to the show. And then they come up to me and tell me how they had no idea how many CCR songs that they liked and were familiar with, because they didn't really put two and two together and realized, I might do 22 or 24 songs in a show, and even a young person that wasn't born at that time might have been very familiar with 15 of them, and they just didn't even really know it.
Yeah, I mean, Randy, I'm going to give you my own personal story here, which is I wasn't born until July 1971. So by the time I was just coming into the world, the band had just broken up. But like a lot of people, I've heard these songs on the radio countless times all throughout my life, and I became a fan that way. I really dug a lot of his songs. I just thought from the minute I heard like "Down on the Corner" and all the other stuff, I just thought, man, these are greatly written tunes. They're just such great songs. And then I went out and bought some of the albums. But it just amazes me knowing now, like I've read John's book that he just put out, and it's just amazing to learn all the turmoil and stuff that was going on between these guys. When these songs are being created.
Yeah, it's quite the story. It's sad it has to be kind of a thing where they're not speaking right now, but it's just the way it went. It's there's nothing anybody can
say about that. Yeah.
Do to change it.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad. Like in reading the book, I guess John and his brother had a falling out, but he seems one thing I think that's good about him getting this book out. It seems like he's in a good place where he says, all the bad blood was between me and my brother. I've kind of gotten over it, and I can't wait till a day when I see I see him in outer space and we have a chance to make up.
I've got to read that book. I haven't got it yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a really good read because, like a lot of people, while I'm a huge CCR fan for years, like a lot of people, I thought kind of like John Fogerty. He's a real whiner and stuff because like. I could see him not getting along with the other guys in the band, but like even after his brother passed on, and they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stuff, he seemed to kind of have a lot of bad blood even towards his brother, and he didn't even refer to him like as his brother. But then I read the book all these years later, it's come out, and you can see where he's kind of found a way to deal with all that, and he's like, I don't want to go through the rest of my life, hating my brother, he's dead, and I want to be at peace and stuff, when it comes for me to die, and so I think it's a real, been like a real good catharsis and a real good thing, him getting this book out, because I think people will be able to really kind of see maybe he's not such a whiner, and kind of, it gives him a chance to really, get his story out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to have to get that book and read it, and then, but the neat thing about it is the whole thing about their music, regardless of whatever
went on
there has been with personalities, the music is what it is, and it makes everybody happy. And when people are watching a tribute concert, or when they're watching John Fogerty live, or if they're watching Creedence Clearwater Revisited live, at least at that point, they're not thinking about those troubles. They're just enjoying those songs, which are so famous.
Yeah, and like you said, the most amazing thing about the Creedence story to me is the fact that this music came out. The first 3 albums came out like I think in 1 year. So a lot of his material came out relatively quick. The band came and went relatively quick. And the interesting thing to me was back in 1970 when Tom Fogerty left. I think the best stuff they put out was when all 4 of them were, in the band. The minute one guy left, it kind of diluted it. You know, I think, you know, that just goes to show you that not one guy, you know, even talking about John Fogerty, not one guy, you know, is the magic alone. I think it was the four of them together and what they created.
Yeah, and isn't that the case with most bands? You know, just think about the first Led Zeppelin album, how cool it was.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
All of that stuff. You know, it's kind of the way it usually is. The real magic happens in the first couple of years that a band is together, it seems to me.
Uh-huh.
Not in every case, but in most cases, those first couple albums are the most important ones.
Yeah, and so let me ask you, Randy, when you put this tribute together, how come typically a lot of when you put together a tribute band, the band will name it after like one of a band's songs or an album title or something. I think it's really cool that you decided to just kind of you know, skip that little normal routine and kind of you know, put your own name out there on the marquee. That's kind of a cool original thing to do, I think.
Well, I'll tell you how that happened. When I first put it together, I went the other route. I used to call it Midnight Special.
Okay.
And at that time, I also put another tribute together where I did a tribute to Bob Seger, where I had to actually wear a wig and glue on facial hair.
Wow.
And so on, and I called that Silver Bullet, after the name of one of his albums.
Yeah, yeah.
And, so I did that for a while, and I played in Las Vegas a little bit, and around the Pacific Northwest where I live, and then of course when I wasn't doing tribute shows, just as I do now, I was playing as myself, you know, doing a variety of classic rock and so on, and after a while, I came to the realization that for one thing, it's going to be a lot more efficient just to concentrate on one tribute.
Yeah.
So I, you know, and I did that, and then I came to the realization that I'm going to get farther if every time I play somewhere, my name is there instead of people having, I didn't even know that was you because you've changed your band name since I saw you last. And so I made that career decision a long time ago to just, everything I do, I just use my name in because I'm always the leader of whatever project I've got going. I'm in other things now and then, you know, where we don't use my name because I'm in as a sideman, but that's why I've done that. It's just made it so that it's just simpler.
Yeah, I bet. And now let me ask you, going back to when you were doing the Bob Seger tribute, because Bob Seger is such a different type of singer than John Fogerty. So, did you have to kind of get more in the Bob Seger mode, if you know what I mean? I mean, like you said, you put on a wig.
Absolutely. I also did a tribute to Tom Petty and, John Cougar Mellencamp. What I did was, for a while there, I didn't do a full 90-minute show of each one of those guys. I put together a show that I called Trilogy of Rock.
Wow. Oh, cool.
And I did 30 minutes of Mellencamp, and then 30 minutes of Tom Petty, and 30 minutes of Bob Seger with in full costume with you know, the blonde hair when I was doing Tom Petty and so on, you know, and I definitely would make every effort I possibly could to be in the moment when I would, and try to make myself sound and act like those guys, and the way I always do it in my mind is I just, when I'm picking the songs, I pick songs I really like by those guys, and when I'm performing it, I'm just really thinking about, you know, Tom Petty and how much I like him and how I perceive how he sounds, and I just try my best to sound like that. You know? But the voice that comes the most natural to me is John Fogerty.
Yeah, I was.
I put all my eggs in that basket.
that's the point I was trying to make. And see, I could really get into, like a show like you were talking about, where you do all three tributes like in one act. I mean, for an audience, that'd be a cool thing to see. But and bands like what you guys do, that's what I love about it. I tell people this is like rock and roll theater, because again, Randy, if you were up there just in your jeans and t-shirt playing a evening of John Fogerty and CCR, it would not be the same thing as what you're doing. I mean, that's kind of why I was asking about the Bob Seger tribute, because like, man, when I'm looking on your Facebook page as we're speaking here, I mean, I'm looking at a picture of you in a blue shirt and a guitar, and I'm like thinking, man, this guy, he looks as close as John Fogerty as I think you can get. And I could see you like walking around a theater or a casino before a show, or out in the parking lot, and people coming up to you and thinking, oh man, hey man, this guy looks like John Fogerty. I'm convinced. I want to see this band.
Yeah, that's right, and that's another one of the reasons why it's best that I just went with the one thing, because you're right. When I'm out of costume, I'm not going to look anything like those other guys. I do still, and so that is the thing. And another thing that I realized was when you give somebody a show where you're doing three different things, well, they're always going to have a favorite.
Yeah.
So that means that they're going to tell you they're either going to tell you, my favorite was this, or it's going to become a negative. They're going to say, I didn't like the way you did Bob Seger as much as I liked how you did Tom Petty.
Yeah.
And so I realized, basically, by trying to do that, you're giving people a reason to put out a negative.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come out and you just knock them dead with doing the one thing, which is what I try to do, it's all positive. I just got back. I live in Olympia, Washington.
Yeah.
And I just got back late last night, my wife and I. My wife is the MC for my show.
Oh, cool.
And we travel together all the time, and we just got back from doing a couple shows in Arizona, and Sunday night we had the opportunity to perform outside for 8,000 people.
Wow.
And it was just such a positive experience, like it always is, but that one especially, because normally the audiences I perform for aren't that big. The biggest one I ever did was in Mexico for 14,000 people.
Wow. And that's what amazes me about these tribute bands is, depending on where you go, I mean, tribute bands are a big business these days. It just really amazes me. And like you said, part of the reason, like we said, is you got this built-in audience. Somebody coming to a Randy Linder show, they're going to know, okay, we're going to hear John Fogerty music. So you got that built-in audience already. And the great thing is, it's almost like a celebration, if you will, because just like the audience who's coming to see you play, you grew up on these songs. These are songs that that you get off on, just as much as the people coming to hear you play them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and another thing that enters in or goes along with that is, how as a musician sometimes it might be easy to be intimidated by other musicians that are in the crowd or this or that, And but doing a tribute to John Fogerty, I'm never intimidated, because I always know that all I got to do is do as good a job celebrating John Fogerty as I can, and it'll all be good, It's not that anybody's gonna be looking at what I can't do at that point.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at what I can do or what I do,
Yeah.
And so I'm not intimidated by any crowds at all.
That's just, I love it, and the great thing about it too is, like I was saying, people grew up with this music, and I started interviewing guys like you that play in tribute bands, Randy, for simple fact. I've been to many of these tribute shows. I really enjoy it immensely, and again, I kind of think of it as rock and roll theater. I can't say I've really seen a bad one, but and I don't know what the tribute scene's like there in Washington where you're from, but it's pretty huge out here in LA where I live, and I think if you're gonna do a tribute band too, you got to have a little special niche. And let's be honest, there's at least half a dozen AC/DC tributes or half a dozen Led Zeppelin tributes. Going in any given state. So
and there's at least that many Creedence tributes, if not more.
Yeah, they're starting to pop up. I mean, like in Los Angeles, where I'm from, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 in the general area. But they're starting to pop up a lot more. You're right.
Well, here's the way I look at that. I welcome all comers, all the competition, and the reason is I'm really glad that there's such thing as tribute bands, because wouldn't it be a shame if there wasn't, and anybody who wasn't lucky enough to see the original artist, which may not be performing anymore, and may not even still be alive, would never get to see that music performed live the way that it was. So I think it's a really important thing that there is such a thing as a tribute band, to keep that cool happening alive. And one tribute band can't play
everywhere.
It's all over the world.
Yeah.
Everybody can see them. I do a lot of music in the parks that different Chamber of Commerce that different cities have.
Wow.
And it takes a lot of Creedence tribute bands in this country, for instance, to get out there and do all the gigs that there's a demand for.
Yeah.
So
And see,
I think it's neat that there's lots of tribute.
Yeah, see, a lot of times for me too, it's just a great way to get out on the weekend and have some fun. I mean, there's this place, down the street from where I live, where almost every Friday and Saturday night they have like a tribute night where you can go see 3 or 4 different tributes on the on the same bill, and you can get in the door depending on the show for like $10 or $15, and so at that price, it's like, okay, I'm going to get a chance to see 3 or 4 great bands, hopefully get out of the house for a couple hours and have a good time. And again, like you're saying, in the case of John Fogerty, while he's still out there touring, he does not tour constantly like he did back in the 70s and 80s, and for several years there he wasn't even playing any of that Creedence music.
Yeah, he wasn't, and wasn't it neat when he started back doing it? You know, I just think that it's so cool that you can still go. I mean, John Fogerty is going strong.
I can't believe the guy's like 70 years old. I heard recently, and he's. I mean, to look at him, you'd have no idea he was that old.
No, and to see him perform,
yeah,
he's going strong. People are loving it, and he's having a great time, and I think it's really cool. I've always, for myself, I'm 8 years younger than John Fogerty is.
Yeah, wow.
But shoot, I remember when I was 35, 40 years old, wondering how long will I feel like, being a rock performer.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know it. And or how old can I get before people won't
come to the show,
interested in watching or hearing me anymore, And so a long time ago I came up with this theory that, I'll keep my eyes on Mick Jagger and Paul McCartney, who are both 10 years older than I am.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think, talking about the Rolling Stones for a minute. I mean, I heard recently, I think that Charlie Watts is like just a few shies of 80 years old. I mean, that's amazing,
Yeah, I know. And so I've always maintained that when both Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger are no longer performing, then I've got 10 years to go.
There you go. So you're still within that that time frame, I think. And now let me ask you,
providing I'm lucky enough to be healthy and alive.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, with your little tribute act here, is it just strictly a tribute to CCR, or do you ever throw in anything off of the John Fogerty solo albums?
I actually do. And I'm going to do a little more as time goes on, but I do. I've center field.
Oh, cool.
I get a lot of requests for that. I throw in Old Man Down the Road. And I do this song, Rock Beatles.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty quick. I'm going to throw in Hot Rod Heart.
Okay, that's cool.
So three or four.
And that's
to the show.
And that's the other thing, Randy. If you didn't know anything about Fogerty's history, in reading the book, what I learned too, he talks a lot about like how they were one of the bands that had like the worst record deal. Now you'd be thinking, which I'm sure he's pretty comfortable, and he doesn't have to worry about money these days. But he talks a great deal in the book too about how like he doesn't own any of the rights to any of those CCR songs. You'd be thinking he'd be getting all these royalties and living off of that, but not really.
I know it's a kind of a sad story, and it's not unique to John Fogerty, of course. A lot of musicians signed bad record deals and didn't come out as good as you might think. You might look at them as a rock star, but they might not have, they might not own anything when they're 50 years old, But one thing about John Fogerty is
he's a survivor. I'll give him that.
He's survived. He's a survivor. He's survived all of that, and he commands a pretty penny right now to go out and do a concert, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah.
So it's really encouraging to me to see John Fogerty or any other rock stars that I grew up with that are usually 10 or 15 years older than me that are out still really going strong. That's a very encouraging thing to me.
Yeah, and but the interesting thing about John Fogerty too is the music industry is a lot different than it used to be when we were growing up, Randy. But it's kind of interesting that he's still out there touring, and like you said, he's a huge demand and making decent money, people buying his tickets and stuff. But it's been a number of years since he's released any new music, and yet he's still got that huge demand.
Yeah, well, he had so many hits with Creedence, he could survive on that
alone.
That's all he's surviving on because he's written some great stuff in the last 20 years, and so there's just lots of people who love the stuff that he's still coming out with, and one of my favorite albums is Blue Moon Swamp.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that before, but
I've heard some of the stuff.
Out of the '90s, it's a really great album. Blue Moon Swamp is just a killer album.
Yeah, I think that's the one came out like back in '97. I want to say, or something like that. But in any event, before I let you go, Randy, I want to share with you too. The other reason I started interviewing guys like you, but playing tribute bands, besides enjoying it so much myself, is there is a huge portion of people out there that are under the misconception that musicians that play in tribute bands, they're failed musicians. They couldn't make it doing their own original thing. But let me take it a step further and tell people this, that that has not been my experience. I mean, you're talking to a guy here that I can't strum a guitar, I can't play a lick of music. So I got all the respect in the world for a guy like you that can get up there and play the songs of John Fogerty and CCR, because that's something I could never do. So I tip my hat to you guys for that. But I also started doing these interviews so people can understand all the hard work and dedication goes into putting on a show like what you do. And it's kind of interesting talking to you today. You kind of made me kind of think, like you're telling me, at one point I was doing a tribute to Tom Petty, Bob Seger, and John Fogerty all in one show. And then I kind of stopped and realized that, hey, why give them a choice to say something negative? I'm going to stick with, what I'm the most comfortable doing. It's not that much hard work, doing John Fogerty for you, because you kind of got the look already. So, the fact that you would take the time to think about stuff like that, I think that just goes to show, all the thinking and hard work and dedication goes into putting on a show like what you do.
Oh, that's awesome, and I appreciate that you do what you do, the way you're championing tribute bands. It's an awesome thing, and I wish more people did what you do. But I'm really glad that you gave me a call. How did you find me?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Randy. A lot of times I just find bands to interview, like finding. A lot of the bands I find like through the Facebook tribute page, and people always putting ads up on that, and some different tribute pages, and a lot of times, as new tribute bands pop up, and like, so I'm based in Los Angeles and you're in Washington, but there's no reason we can't do this over the phone, one thing I love about the tribute scene, and tell me if this has been your experience, is all the bands that I've had any kind of dealings with, it's like a brotherhood, a fraternity, where like if you're dealing with bands that are doing original music, a lot of times there's a lot more competition going on, whereas the tribute bands, it might be like, hey, we're still looking for an opening band for our show next week. Would you guys like to open up for us? And that's one thing I dig about the tribute bands.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I noticed too. I'm really good friends with lots of different tribute band guys, and we all consider each other to be each other's allies.
Yeah, and what I try to do
There's
too.
No
yeah.
competition.
Yeah, and what I try to do too in picking bands, that I choose to do an interview with is, like, I'll be honest, I listen to a lot of hard rock and metal, but I'm one of these guys that if I like something like that, just because I might listen mostly like to Aerosmith or Whitesnake or something, there's no reason I can't be a John Fogerty fan. And if I get on your Facebook page, I'm like, oh, this guy's got the look. Man, just look at the pictures on your Facebook page, for example, Randy. I'm like, man, I wish this guy was playing my town. I'd go and see his next show.
That's cool.
That's what this is all about to me. It's just a brotherhood and spreading the love and trying to help one another.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and like I said, I really noticed that too. As far as other tribute band guys that I know, we all support each other and try to share contacts as well to help the other ones. I do get down kind of close to you once in a while. I play now and then at the Spotlight 29 Casino.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, if that ever comes to be in the near future, I'd like to come and see you. But now let me ask you. Typically, do you do your own headlining shows where you like play a theater? Or you were saying a lot of times you play in outdoor venues like in the parks and stuff.
Yeah. Typically, I would say if I had to pick one type of venue that I do the most, it would be casino showrooms. But we also do some outdoor park things and theaters. Like in last November, we had an opportunity to do a string of performing arts theaters, starting in South Carolina and then going to North Carolina and then down into Alabama. We did a tour of performing arts theaters. Just last Saturday night, just a few days ago, I played a performing arts theater in Tucson, Arizona, and then Sunday night I was at an outdoor venue.
And typically, how often do you gig out? I mean, because that's quite a last couple of days, that's quite a bit of gigging. But does it just depend on like the gigs becoming available? And do you typically?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's kind of feast or famine. There's no regularity to it whatsoever. So that's why, in addition to doing the tribute shows, I also do smaller things around near where I live. I've been fortunate enough for the last 7 or 8 years to make my entire living playing music.
Well, and that's a great thing to be able to do that. Success means different things to different people, but I think it's got to be a great thing when, because a lot of the guys I interview, they have day jobs and that to help them pay the bills and be, like you said, it helps to support their musical thing they do on the weekend. But that's got to be a great thing where you don't need to have an extra job. You're able to do what you love.
It really is. To me, success is the life that I have designed for myself, and of course, my wife as well. We do everything together, and it's not like I'm a successful guy if you look at my tax return, but I'm extremely successful if you look at my day-to-day life over the course of any month of the year. I'm a pretty lucky guy because I love my life the way it is.
Well, I love it. I love just talking to a guy that's got that upbeat attitude, rather than just you talk to some people and they like, it's one thing like I did not like about grunge music and stuff. All these guys that thought, oh, we have to wear flannels, we got to act like we're depressed and we hate the world and everything. That's why, like a lot, a lot of what I listen to is just great classic rock bands. Just I love, like pick me up music. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, and that goes along with what I love about my life is the fact that I get to make my living making other people happy by playing and singing the songs that I like the best.
Yeah, and I imagine too, like you're saying.
I feel really lucky about that, and I don't feel any competition from any other musicians out there, even if they're Creedence tribute bands or whatever. I think there's room for
everybody. And it's like you said, when you're up on stage singing these songs, playing your guitar, that's got to be the greatest feeling that, just a roar of a crowd, you hear all these people singing right back with you.
Oh, it is. And my wife, she'll be trying to make me feel good, and she'll tell me I'm a rock star. And I say, no, I'm not a rock star. My job is to pretend to be a rock star, and that's good enough for me.
Oh, I love it. Well, Randy, I really enjoyed talking to you today. So once again, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I really appreciate it.